Thank you once again for tuning in to Career Channel's podcast. My name is Julius Cartwright. I am here today with a friend, a colleague. His name is Dr. Robert Lawson, and we're going to talk today about his career path. And he is going to share with us his experience, what he went through and where he is today, and what a great career and experience that he's had, and open up these insights to each of you who may be in similar positions or who may be considering some of the things that he did. Welcome.
Welcome. And thank you for having me, Julius.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I started out my education at the University of Rio Grande in Rio Grande, Ohio, and I wasn't sure, what field I wanted to go into, so everybody else was majoring in physical education, so I decided that I would major in physical education. And that was the beginning of my career. And after I'd been in school for a couple of years and was doing okay in my classes, I realized that that wasn't the area or the field that I wanted to go into. So what happened with me was, on the campus there was a guidance counselor by the name of Sally Orbaugh. I remember it very vividly. And she asked me a very poignant question, which was, what did I do well in whenever I was in high school? And I said, well, I did very well in English. And she said, well, do you think you might want to become an English teacher? And I said, maybe. So I started taking some English classes at the University of Rio Grande. And lo and behold, I did very well. And in fact, the other thing that I did when I was in high school was I was a pretty good speaker. So I made the decision to switch majors at the end of my sophomore year, at the beginning of my junior year. I decided that I was going to major in English, and I did, and I minored in speech. And that helped me to not have to go too much longer than 4 years. I went 4.5, even though I had switched majors. And at the end of that time, I was able to complete my degree, do my student teaching, and enter the profession of teaching English.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that insight, and now I understand why you're a better speaker and your diction is better than mine, because
I don't know about all that now.
No, but seriously, so that's pretty interesting. So, what I find is people come back to their roots, meaning that they come back to what they wanted to do or what they liked all along. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to go all the way around the block to come back to the same spot to realize that this is what I really want to do and this is what I need to do. And so what happened after that? Because you are a doctor, you're a PhD, so I mean you had to do more than 4.25.
That's very true. In today's society, I think people have to be prepared to pivot, and to learn from that pivoting, because what I did was, after I went into that particular field, I wound up being able to get a job at Gallia Academy High School in Gallipolis, Ohio, and I spent 4 years teaching there, and I also became the head track coach.
Oh, wow.
And, that was a lot of fun. It took us a couple of years to build a championship track team, and that was a phenomenal kind of thing. And there was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Paul Hines, and he was the president of Rio Grande College at that time. And his son, Scott, ran track for me. And he said, one day, I might have a job for you, because he really liked the way that I worked with individuals, people on an individual basis, people skills. And I said, well, I didn't really think a lot of that, because I already had a job. I was an English teacher. So Dr. Hines was the president of Rio, and he left, and he became the vice president at Marshall University, and he gave me a call on the phone one day, and he wanted to know if I wanted to come down and run his continuing education program.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that's really interesting, but I already have a job. But he asked me how much I made, and I told him, and he says, well, if you come and work with us, we'll double your salary.
So all of a sudden, you didn't really have a job, because he's talking about doubling your income. That's impactful.
Anthony Robbins says it this way. He says, it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped, and you have to be ready, willing, and able when a gift horse looks you in the mouth, and that is called opportunity. And opportunity is where, or success is where opportunity and preparation meet. That is what success is. And so I left the teaching profession, and I went into the field of administration, and I became the director of their continuing education program, where we literally built a children's college program, from the ground floor up. And we did something that I learned to become very passionate about, which was setting up conferences and seminars and workshops for a lot of different agencies and organizations, and particularly whenever it comes to business and industry. And as a result of that, we were able to get a lot done. And Marshall University became very well known for their ability to be able to offer things to people in the community that hadn't been offered before.
Wow. Were you at the school when they had a tragedy down there with that? Were you there at that time?
I wasn't. I was still at. I wasn't. That was prior to my arrival there. But you're talking about a terrible plane crash.
Yeah.
That killed a large number of football players, and there were two people that were not in that crash, and one of the individuals I became very good friends with, and his name was Nate Ruffin, and Nate worked at the Herald Dispatch at that time, and we became very good friends.
Wow. Okay, so now you move from teaching
to administration. Yeah, and I think college isn't for everybody.
Right.
And that's why, Career Channels magazine is going to be such an important piece for people to take a look at, because individuals are going to find other individuals who choose non-traditional paths to go down. Of course, there's the path of education, but there's a business and industry opportunity that might become available to someone. As you had talked earlier, about trades, that's going to be very, very important also. But the really cool thing about education is that sometimes when you become involved in something that you have a passion for, you want to develop it even further. Mm-hmm. And so I never, when I became an administrator, I never gave up teaching. I was just adding another skill set in another area. So not only was I teaching, and not only was I being an administrator, but I began to branch out and teach other areas, which was business communications, in addition to English. And then I got involved in the master's level program at Marshall University, and wound up getting a master's degree in 17th century literature. And so, you know, and the really cool thing about that was I was able to apply that to my own life, you know, just in terms of broadening my own background and experience. And the interesting thing about that is, you know, sometimes the more education you get, the more you want.
Okay.
And you develop a passion, you develop a desire for a particular thing, and you go for it. And you know, once I had a baccalaureate degree and a master's degree, then I was one of those individuals, you know, because I worked around a lot of colleagues, and when you're in a certain kind of an environment, you look at the people who are around you, and if you see them excelling, you know, in a certain area, and I saw other individuals, you know, who were my colleagues, and they were working toward getting their doctoral degrees, and you know, I was like, wow, you know, if you can do that, then maybe I can do that too.
Wow.
So I applied to become a doctoral student at Nova University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My application was accepted. You know, you had to have a master's in order to be able to get into the program. And here again was an opportunity to expand and grow and develop. And so the field that I chose was educational administration, because they had a focus on education and leadership. And so I wound up getting a doctoral degree in the field of education.
Wow. That's powerful.
It was fun. It was unique, and it opened up the door to a lot of other opportunities. You know, where I'll tell you about that later.
So did you relocate to Florida to go to school? You went virtually online at the time, or how was that set up?
They had Nova Southeastern University had cluster programs, and what that meant was that they had off-campus sites for non-traditional students who wanted to attend school. Now, you had to complete summer institutes, and one was in Bal Harbor, Florida, and I had to do that, and then another one was in Tucson, Arizona, where they do this really nice place that they give away on the game shows. The El Conquistador was where I stayed, and that was really a lot of fun. But what we had classes in Norfolk and Richmond, Virginia, in addition to classes that we would attend on campus. And I had to drive to those sites,
Okay.
but I didn't have to go all the way to Florida. And so at that particular juncture, we began to look at things online.
Okay, gotcha. So let me ask you this. So now you've matriculated from the degree to the master's degree to the you got your PhD. Where did the book writing come in at? When did you start writing books? Was that along the way, or was that after you got your PhD?
No, it was about the same time. You know, I've always been interested in human growth and development. That's my whole focus is on. You know, even when I teach, when I was teaching high school and college courses, not only was I interested in the subject matter, what I was truly interested in was developing the individual. Here I am. I'm thinking about and looking at the entire person, the whole person. And the question that I'm asking myself is, what is it that I can do, that I can share with this individual that will help him or her to be able to maximize his or her potential to their absolute fullest? That's always been a desire of mine, an innate ability that I've had inside of myself. And so I've been influenced by a lot of individuals in my life, some relatives, and then great writers who are out there. My aunt, Nora Faye Lawson, was a big influencer in my life. My mom, you know, was a big influencer in my life, you know, and they were incredibly positive people. And as a result of that, I was able to don that same type of an attitude because of who I was surrounded by. And so the books that I began to write just had an awful lot to do with human growth and development and helping people to realize their potential and looking at things from a psychological perspective and helping people to understand that just because someone has told them no doesn't mean that they have to buy into that, that they can negate that negativity by staying positive, remaining positive, and going through various experiences and then figuring out how to overcome adversity.
So, can you tell our audience exactly like how many books you've written?
To date, probably, it's in the teens.
Okay.
In terms of the number of books that I've written, Destined for Greatness, The Gamer. Let me share something from The Gamer with you.
Sure.
If that would be appropriate. She smiled with quiet confidence. She knew what they did not. Her plan was to acquire the goal that all the others sought. She led by taking action while others talked their game. She knew that she could get things done without a thought of fame. She rose each day with purpose. She focused on her plan. Her daily affirmations were, I will, and yes, I can. Oh, you cannot stop the gamer when her powerful mind is set for the things for which she strives are the things that she will get. There's power in believing if you first convince your mind to make the firm commitment to complete the massive grind. The task, they're somewhat arduous, this much we know for sure. Yet victory will always go to those who long endure. The courage it takes to stand when others turn about is the fuel that drives the gamers when they focus on their route. And when the task is finished and all the work is done, you can shout with admiration that the gamer's number one.
All right. Woo, that's a good one right there.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm familiar with that particular book. I mean,
it's a good one,
okay,
and
okay,
it's not too long. I think maybe 105 pages, but it says what it needs to say.
Okay, it's
just
easy
in
to
terms of belief in yourself and what Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Just helping people to have the kind of mindset that gives them that edge. We all need that. Young people need that. Middle-aged people need that. Mature adults need that because throughout life you're going to encounter barriers. You're going to encounter resistance. You're going to encounter opposition, and you have to prepare yourself to be able to overcome all of that. And you do that by virtue of those individuals that you associate with, by virtue of the types of materials that you read that help you to prepare your mind for being able to do where it is you want to go and what it is you want to do in life.
Yes, very, very well said. So, as you look at your journey, your career path, and how you matriculated from, again, just a degree, and not just a degree, because that's an achievement in and of itself, 4-year degree, but master's and PhD. What advice would you give our younger generation and those individuals in middle school and high school, and some of those that are maybe not in college right now, thinking about going to college, they're on the bubble? What insight would you recommend for those individuals? And when you start talking about college, should they look at a community college and get their feet wet and get through the door, or something online or in person? What would you recommend?
That's an excellent question. It really is. And I'm going to answer that question in relationship to my own background, using my experiences, because one of the things that I had the opportunity to do was literally to work in a community college setting from 73 through 90 when I was at Marshall University. And so what that meant was that there were a number of associate there were 1-year certificate programs that were offered to individuals so that they could become skilled and adept in a certain area. Then beyond that, we had the 2-year associate degrees that individuals could work in, and actually one of those was in a real estate program where students could enroll and go to school for 2 years and then start working with some local realtors to be able to develop a career in real estate, which was awesome for them. And then beyond that, a lot of students would take those 2-year degrees, and then a lot of those courses would transfer into a 4-year degree program so that they could go to Marshall University proper as opposed to just Marshall University's community college. So, and it was a wonderful opportunity for me because it provided me with an opportunity to interact with students and to counsel students and to help them to figure out their career path. But, the biggest thing about that is what is it that people feel inside of themselves?
Okay.
What is it that you have a passion for? What is it that you're thinking about doing? Because that's probably going to be the thing that helps you to figure out what area you're going to go into. And the challenge with that is, no matter what area you go into, there's no guarantee that you're going to stay with that because your objectives and your desires may change,
Yes.
halfway through a particular program. And I'm not sure if everyone knows what the figures are because the recidivism, we've talked about this, you and I have, but the recidivism rate or the attrition rate for students who start in a program is roughly still around 50% these days. So when I go and I speak to a group of 600 students, for example, I say, hey, take a good look at the number of people who are in front of you and who are behind you and who are beside you, because half of those individuals who are starting out with you 2 years from now, they're not going to be there with you whenever you get ready to graduate. That's the harsh reality of it. And that's why it's so important for people to keep their options open and to listen to their heart and what it is that dictates what it is that they have a desire to do in life.
Yeah, and that's it. I think you just hit the key points because that, to me, is the difference and the deal breaker. Really deciding what you want to do, and that's a very, very hard decision, and making the right one. And I think some of it's fear, some of it's talking to your parents, single parent, couple, whatever the case may be. If you have both of your parents or role models, mentors, brothers and sisters, or individuals that have matriculated to certain levels. So these are things that people have to make the decision. And as young people, most of them have not made major decisions because you're getting up, getting dressed, going to school, you're getting good grades, but you haven't had a chance to make life-changing decisions yet. And so to ask a young person to make a decision on what they're going to do the rest of their life at age 15, 16, and 17 is extremely pressurized. That's a pressure cooker, and that's what we do at Career Channels. Again, we want to give you the menu. We want to spread things around and say you got 50 options versus the 15 that you might have been presented with, because this is something you're going to have to live with the rest of your life. So we want to think that process through, and we want to be assured that this is, to the best that we can, right, that this is what you want to do.
Well, that is incredibly well put. And I say that because a lot of these young people, as you say, are in a pressurized cooker. They are getting a lot of pressure from their peers, and they're getting a lot of pressure, from their parents, but everybody just literally needs to take a step back and allow these young people, to do a little bit of thinking for themselves. because the experiences that they get, they oftentimes they can find out some things that they don't want to do if they're given an opportunity to explore, like maybe working in a fast food restaurant. That some of my sons did that, and they found out that wasn't what they wanted to do.
Exactly.
And so the more experiences you have, the more you're able to get out there and say, this isn't for me. I need to put some time, some energy, and effort into exploring something else that may be more appealing to me.
And the other thing that can do is show them what they don't want to do, and it could be used as a motivating factor.
You got that right.
Yeah. So let's get ready to wind this thing down. We're going to come back with part 2. It's so much information and wisdom we can tap into with Dr. Lawson, and I hope you appreciated this episode, and we'll be back with you with part 2 next week. Thank you.